I'm going to skip the first part of the Parashat because hopefully we'll speak about that on Shabbat, and I've spoken about it in the past of what the whole idea of Tetze, of studying this Parashat properly. Most people study the first part of this Parashat incorrectly, but I've already so many years to tell people how to read it properly that I've forgotten it. Page 1046. Oh, Mazal Tov should be in his merit, Bezat Hashem.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Let's take the second part of the Parashat, maybe the third. On the bottom of page 1046, verse 18. Ki yeh le'ish, if it will happen to a person, that he shall have ben sorer umoreh. In English, people say ben sorer umorer. They make it rhyme. It's not what it says. Ben sorer, with an R at the end, umoreh, with an E at the end. It's very important when you read the Torah to read it properly. And to read it in an accent in which enunciates the words properly. At least to the best of your abilities. Every person can make it. When you hear the words over and over and over again, you hear the words over and over and over again, you sometimes learn them the wrong way. When a person has a son who is sorer, sorer comes from the word sar, to stray from the right path. Umore. What is umore?
Teacher.
A more is very good at teacher. A more is also from the word, remember, as zaken mamare, a rebellious elder from the Sanhedrin, the elder who fights everybody else in the Sanhedrin. Or if you remember, Moshe Rabbeinu accuses us of being rebellious to Hashem, the same word. Sorer umore, a wayward and rebellious son. One, a son who strays and a son who rebels.
So is more the teachers have written differently?
No, it's written the same way. Einenu shomea bekol aviv uvkol imo. He does not listen to the voice of his father and to the voice of his mother. V'yisru oto v'lo yishma lehem. And they discipline him, and he does not listen to them. V'tafsu bo aviv imo, and his parents grab him. V'otziu oto al ziknei iron, they take him to the elders of the city. Vel Shaar mikomon, to the gate of his place. Why the gate of the city?
Outside of the camp.
That's where the Chachamim sat.
Oh.
Chachamim always had their bedin in the entrance of a city. Havdil, you go to other cities, you come to the entrance, a big statue or there's a big idol. Our place, you come to a Jewish city, the first thing you see is Chachamim making judgment. That they should teach people the right path. They told the elders of the city, this son of ours is the one who strays and rebels. He does not listen to our voice. Zolel v'soveh. What is zolel v'soveh? Zolel means a person who eats too much. A glutton. He's a person who's pounds food into his mouth, stuffs himself with food. Whenever he goes where there's food. V'soveh is one who drinks too much alcohol. In our galut, for thousands of years, Jews never considered being drunk a Jewish thing. In fact, there's an old song that says that someone who's a Yiddish song, that somebody who's drunk just can't be Jewish. Can't be. Somewhere in our galut, and it could be that this happened in the old frozen tundra of Russia, Jews decided they need to drink to survive. It was so cold. And somehow being around people who were drunkards their whole life, certain Jewish groups developed it's a very deep thing to drink and to get drunk and to become intoxicated. You find certain times in the year, and there are certain Jewish groups that get totally wasted in alcohol. And they've convinced people that that's the right way to approach things. You don't find in our Torah a reference to drunk people in a positive way. Remember Noach? The drunkard's Lot and his daughters and being drunk. Every time you find a lot of drunk people, you find disaster happens afterwards. It will become, and they're not talking about here about hard alcohol, I'm talking about wine. Respectable beverage, something people don't. I saw unfortunately recently some people drink a whole bottle of wine, 2 bottles of wine. They're crazy people. A person like that needs help. But you're talking about alcohol, wine is supposed to be, you drink a nice glass of alcohol, you say the HaShamayim, you speak with your friends, fine. It's not the kind of beverage that people are supposed to be drinking to get drunk from. This person is abusing food and drink. He's original substance abuse. ורגמוהו כל אנשי עירו באבנים ומת. And all the people in his town stone him to death and he dies. וביערת הרע מקרבך, and you shall destroy the evil from within your midst. וכל ישראל ישמעו ויראו, and all the Jewish people should hear and see, or hear and be afraid, not to do such a thing. It's a very harsh story. It's a very harsh story. It makes many Jews in the West feel very happy to know that there are sources that say this whole chapter starts with the word ki, if it will happen. Meaning, it's not something that happens. Maybe this never happened, the rabbi say, but it could happen. Maybe it's a theoretical concept. It makes many people, like I said, in the West feel very happy. Unfortunately, the West messed up our Judaism, just like the East messed up other things.
Why don't they talk about the other thing like that? One thing found out, like, where it comes from is parents that are lacking, is it just friends that...
I'm going to tell you, if you want to be honest, to fulfill all the requirements in this verse, there are a lot of things that have to happen. Both parents have to be on the same page in terms of education. When the child rebels, they both have to say the same things to him at the same time. Both have to grab him at the same time. A lot of stuff that has to happen here that just to tick all the boxes in which this child would actually end up in Beit Din and be killed. It probably makes sense that such a thing would not have happened. There's too many things going wrong. The moral of the story, and people might say it's a very moral story. The moral of the story is the same. The root of all the problems in this story is
Substance. Substance.
Overindulgence.
that's an after the fact. What is his title?
Rebellious or wayward.
It's a child who rebels. Why does he rebel? He cannot control himself. Cannot control himself. This is the root of this child's all of his problems. But the logic that Chachamim say, why would you kill him? So make sure he does the right thing. The rabbi say it's better that he should die now when he's still innocent than when he later is going to become a bandit and kill people and murder people when he can't get what he wants. Then he's going to really be a criminal. It's a strange way to look at the story. But the root of this entire story is people who lack self-discipline. You see this with a diet. People start a diet, tomorrow, what does someone say? I completed my 17-week diet in 3 hours. Now that's how great of a dieter I am. You made a decision. It's a real decision for you, so stick with it. What are you flipping back and forth about it for? You make a decision in your life to commit to somebody. Commit to somebody. What do you... Now you have regrets? What? A lot of the things that you see in life are people who have bad character traits when it comes to discipline, self-discipline. I'm not talking here about the parents. I'm not talking here about the problems. I'm here talking about a person, an individual. A person who's an addict always tells you, I can stop whenever I want.
Yeah.
And the way you test it is say, okay, show me. No, when I want. No, I'm telling you, now you want. Show me that for a week you can go without smoking, without drinking, without doing drugs. And they can't. Because really they've lost their control already. They've lost their control already. And the person can get help from here. The solution is not, so come tell the rabbi we'll stun you to death as a community, it'll be our next party. It's not what we're going to do. But a person needs to know when I am unable to make wise decisions on my own, I'm in trouble. I will end up making worse decisions than the one I'm making right now. I read an article about prostitution. And how many people go into prostitution to fund their addiction. Not everybody, not always. I'm not here to... So that's a complicated subject in its own right. But they have a habit, meaning it was a bad decision. It could have even been made in high school. To get addicted, maybe not even to a drug that some people, not a big deal. People tell you it's not a big deal. I don't care what the whole world says. The Rambam says that if the whole world says something is right but it's wrong, it's still wrong. It doesn't make a difference if a million people tell you something. The Rambam says if the whole world tells you that something is right and it's really wrong, or wrong and really right, it doesn't make a difference what everyone says. The truth never goes with people. The truth is an objective truth. You want to legalize this drug and legalize that drug. I'm not talking here for medication. People need help. They really need their... People that really suffer from pain, from other things that I'm not here to talk about. But to the point where people are already telling me, what's the big deal? So everybody's a pothead nowadays. But they're probably right. You see what's going on in the streets. They're probably right. But you can stick your head in the sand like an ostrich and tell me that people always, their whole life, they only do marijuana. It's a real thing. It's a real issue that's coming up today. From all the people that I know that were drug addicts, they ended up in rehab centers. Some of them even ended up in prison. They started with a little innocent grass, and they ended up in really dark places. And it could be, maybe it's not true, maybe it's not addictive, maybe it's not a gateway drug, maybe all the people in the world are wrong. It could be. But one thing definitely a person can say, it causes a person's judgment to change. It has a direct influence on a person's ability to decide whether something is right or wrong. A person starts making bad decisions, a small one. They end up here, and they end up there, and they end up in the next place, and before they know it, their life is spiraling out of control. And what does a wise person say? This is something I won't touch with a 10-foot pole. I'm not criticizing someone who has this problem or had this problem. It's not the point of what I'm telling you right now. But a person before, I know that there are people in the world who struggle with alcohol. So why start drinking it now? Because I won't struggle. That every addict has the same personality. Because I am not the one. I'm not saying he's gonna be an addict, not on me. How do you know that? Who promised you that? Someone promised you that you're not gonna fall? So why do you even bother in the first place? You know, I used to be more strict about this in the olden days. In my house in Yerushalayim, people would bring me to come for Shabbat. They bring you a bottle of alcohol, some nice whiskey or something. I would always taste. Take it back home, please. It says in the Torah, "Lo tachnis to'eva al beitecha." You cannot let an abomination enter your home. What do you have in your house for? What do you have in your house? What are you going to do with it? You're going to have a little l'chaim. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you will have a little l'chaim. What about your teenage kid that comes home when you're still at work? And it's not a little l'chaim, it's a big l'chaim. And then the friends come over. And then what happens? When a person loses the ability to make their own decisions, that's the end. We have no hope for this person. Baruch Hashem, people who get out will tell you that it's not that their addiction is over. Baruch Hashem, they got their brain back. And they make correct decisions. But that struggle is forever. That struggle doesn't go away. That every single day, every time this opportunity comes up, they have to be strong. They can never close their eyes again. They can never just lean back and say, Baruch Hashem, it's behind me, it's over, it's not going to bother me again. And in the Jewish community, we have a terrible problem. People go to Beit Knesset, drink a l'chaim, have some kiddush, have some... Are you crazy? You're willing to risk someone 27 years as being sober. And now, because of your stupid l'chaim on Simchat Torah, because of your misreading of halakha that people should get drunk on Purim, you want to risk a person's entire life? I grew up in a Beit Knesset. I grew up in a Beit Knesset where on Simchat Torah and Purim, men didn't go home to their families because their wives would lock them out of the house. Religious people with kippahs and beards and coats and the whole story. You know what the leaders of the community said? The rabbis of the community said? Nothing. Some of them were drunk also. I remember as a kid going into Beit Knesset on Simchat Torah, not in San Diego, in Los Angeles, staying with friends of mine. I was maybe 12 years old, 13 years old. I came into Beit Knesset, we were going from different synagogues to see people dancing with the Torah. And there was a rabbi laying face down on the bima, on the table,
Wow.
in a pile of his own vomit.
Oh, gee.
The rabbi of the community. It's a ben soel moed. It's a person who has no control over themselves. Rabbi Nachman Abreslev has a famous teaching where he says, how are you going to go get advice from a person who can't even help themselves? If they can't help themselves, then they're going to help you? Someone told me recently, do you believe in Jesus? No. But Jesus saves. I said, he couldn't even save himself. Are they going to save me?
Yeah.
Now, normally I don't tell a person derogatory things about their avodah zarah. But you came to me, Jesus saves. I didn't come to you. You come to me, expect something back. How are you going to go to a person who, half their life they spent face down on the bima in their own vomit? They want to go talk to them about advice for your life? Don't, stay away. Now, is anybody perfect? Nobody's perfect. Everybody has struggles. Some people are embarrassed of their struggles, so they hide them. That person at least knows that what they struggle with is a problem. But someone who doesn't hide their struggle, that's something they're going to parade around about, that person's telling you it's not a problem for me. I'm really happy being imperfect. A ben soel moed, forget about the story, forget about the child, forget about the parent's story. It's a wake-up call to a person to say, you must remain in control of your life every single waking minute of your existence. Don't take chances. There's a famous chacham, and this I'm not suggesting to you, so don't do this. I'm just telling you how extreme some chachamim took this. When he was once needed to be operated on, he refused to take anesthetic. So you could put anesthetic, a general anesthetic, a local anesthetic, but not a general anesthetic. I don't want to be knocked out. I've never spent a time in my life not conscious of myself. I don't want to do it. That's not a halakha. Don't go and say, hey, let's do open heart surgery, no anesthetic. You're a crazy person. That's not a psychiatrist. But this idea, I want to be in control of my life. And so the flip side of it, how do I get in control of my life? How do I make good decisions? How do I get to a place where I want to make good decisions? People have all kinds of books they wrote. I'm going to tell you the best way to make good decisions. My wife's great-great-great-great-grandfather was a man by the name of Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy was once challenged to a debate by the local bishop. You know, rabbis were very afraid of the bishops, because bishops, if you won the debate, they just throw all the Jews out of town, or they kill all the Jews in the town. It wasn't like let's have an interfaith dialogue. That wasn't normally the way that it worked. Rabbi Yonatan said, what's the debate about? He says, nature versus nurture. A person's nature versus the way that they've trained themselves to be. Which one is more powerful? Your nature, your base instincts, or your nurture, who you've become? And Rabbi Yonatan Halevy said, your nature is more powerful. You can change yourself all you want and be on your best behavior all you want, but when a person has to make a decision in a snap, when they slip, they always go back to being who they were originally. And the bishop said, it's not true. Every person can change. That's what everybody wants to tell you right now. Of course you can change who you are. Because in 3 days we're going to have a live debate in front of the whole city. So they came. There's a whole story how this led up, the events that led up to this day. The winner is sitting and they say, nature versus nurture. The bishop calls out his assistants and they bring out a cat. A cat. Standing on 2 legs. Wearing a vest and a bow tie. In his hands he's carrying a tray of tea. And he's walking in a straight line, balancing the tea. And everyone's applauding. Oh, Hashem, look at this bishop, unbelievable. You can make a cat walk with tea on a silver platter, unbelievable. The cat that's normally in the garbage, now he's walking carrying tea. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy takes out his silver snuff box, they used to sniff tobacco. He took out a snuff box, and out jumps a little mouse. Rip it past the cat. The cat throws the tea, drops the stuff, runs after the mouse. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy says, that's my point. And he walked home.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, you could dress up the cat nice and you can make him hold tea. But the minute that cat sees a mouse, forget the tea, forget the tuxedo, forget the bishop. He's running after the mouse. That's what he does. That's what cats do. What does it mean for a human being? Because what I'm telling you right now is you can never change yourself. So that's the least inspirational thing I can tell you today. What I'm telling you today is what I learned from my Rabbi Yonatan. And that is that in order for change to be real, it must be part of your nature. It has to stop being an act. It has to stop being something you pretend, that you put on a show for. You have to get used to doing things right. The example that I give always, what time is it right now?
8:20.
8:23.
2.
If someone asks you, hey, what time is it right now? What would you tell them?
Hey, that looks like 8:20.
Okay, my phone says 8:22. What would you tell them?
8:22.
8:22.
You would say 8:22? Most people on the street would just say, it's 8:20. Or 8:25, and now it's 8:23. In school, they tell me to round to the nearest number, no? Is that not what they tell?
They do that.
Yeah. Don't tell a person it's 9:13 right now. Tell them it's 9:15. Oh. A person says, okay, so a person knows when you tell them it's 8:20. They didn't ask you also for milliseconds, and you didn't have to tell them everything. But you just taught yourself in your nature that it's okay to lie. So you don't think it's such a big deal. You're going to go home tonight, you're going to say, hey, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's not Shabbat right now. You taught yourself in your nature to lie. When you go to work, there's how many people at the class? Not this one. Hundreds of people. It was only 50 people. It felt like hundreds of people. You just lie. And what happens when you really have to tell the truth is you don't really think twice about lying because you do it all the time. We do it all the time. Even in our classes, we have to do tshuva. I also have to do it in the room. Now I have to plan a wedding for in the winter. And I have to say that the wedding is going to happen at 2 o'clock because I need the chuppah to happen by 3. But if I tell people at 3, nobody's coming for 4. People have this tendency that they know that 2 is not 2, 3 is not 3. The whole community then is a liar. A bunch of liars. But see, they don't feel that way. I'm not trying to make them feel that way. But in their nature, in there are those people that they come on time. I always laugh at them. Well, we have to come on time. That's good. Those are the people that woke up on Har Sinai when Hashem gave the Torah. The rest of us slept in. A person has to make goodness and good decisions part of their nature. I told a story on Shabbat, which is valuable to repeat again. When a person wants to reach greatness, they must be wary of any shortcuts along the road. Last week's Parashat is all about don't do this, don't try to bring yourself good luck this way, don't try to do things that way. Just be straight with Hashem. Be pure with Hashem. If you get an email saying, hey, how would you like to make $10,000 an hour from your living room sitting in your bathrobe? Just delete the email. Because if there was a way to make $10,000 an hour sitting in your bathroom, everybody would be doing that. Nobody would go to work tomorrow. Nobody would be busy breaking things in the hot cement and building things and destroying. Nobody would do it. And even if you have such an opportunity in your life to make $10,000 an hour, you better be worried that the thing that you're doing might not actually be legal. Let's talk about it. I once read that there's a police task force that they patrol Craigslist and I don't know, whatever other websites you have for stolen goods. How do they know if something is stolen? I mean, they can't check in pictures and this one was stolen. They see a bike or a phone. This phone is worth right now in the stores $1,500. They're selling it for $500. Mint condition iPhone. Why are you selling a mint condition iPhone for $500? You're gonna be one of two things. Maybe you're moving next week to a country that doesn't have service for iPhones. You got to get rid of it. At least you're gonna have $5 than $1,500. It could be that it's broken and you're trying to cheat people. Chances are that it's something hot that you're trying to fence. It's something that you shouldn't have in the first place. You're trying to get rid of it quick. And it's a special task force in the police department. They set up meetings and they meet, and as soon as they can verify that the barcode is a stolen phone, they come in, they bust the person. Most of the time, this person is not even the one who stole it in the first place. They bought it from someone else who stole it.
Yeah, they don't catch the actual robber.
Right, they catch the
person
middleman, the
selling
one who's going to make a
the
few
charge
bucks
is
out of it.
receiving stolen property. He received stolen property from someone else.
Correct. And I read that the hardest thing is to prove that he knew it was stolen property. He could say, I thought, listen, I bought it from a guy I thought it was legit.
It's a lot of car thieves. They don't get charged with car theft. They got charged with receiving stolen property because they didn't steal the car. They're just driving it.
Really?
After somebody else
Unless you
stole
can
it.
prove that they stole it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So they get them on receiving stolen property. The car.
Amazing.
That's how they do it.
Let me tell you about stolen iPhones. Shortcuts in life. You don't want, even if shortcuts are good, you don't want to take them. I told a story about Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashi. He had 1,400 descendants by the time he passed away. And he was the sandak. He held the baby at his grandson's Brit Milah. Grandson's Brit Milah. And one of the rabbis said, hey, Rabbi Yosef Shalom, there's a segula, there's a teaching that says that you'll go straight to Gan Eden if you are the sandak and your grandson's Brit. He said, here, take the baby from me. I don't want it. So why not? You want to go to Gan Eden? He said, I've been working my whole life to go to Gan Eden through the front door. Don't sneak me in through the back door. I want to come to a wedding. I want to walk into the lobby. I don't want to sneak me through the kitchen. That's not how I want to come into the wedding. In life, you make a decision. How do you want to come in? You have to get used to not taking shortcuts, and then you won't take shortcuts. Then you won't get caught up in some fraud or some mess or some story. When I was in yeshiva, we were once walking, and I said this on Shabbat also. We were like cutting across a field in the grass, and one of the rabbis stopped us and said, hey, why are you guys walking in the middle of the field? So, because we don't want to walk around on it. It's faster this way. He told us you should know that a ben Torah, a student of Torah, will never take a shortcut. Train yourself not to take shortcuts. Go the long way. Because in your whole life, you'll end up not taking shortcuts. And that might sound extreme, and it might sound, but it's part of the way you train yourself. When I train someone to do goodness, then the chances of them making a mistake and doing something bad is very slim. But a person whose whole life knows shoplifting. I once had a fascinating conversation with a store manager. He says every store in the United States, at least, part of their budget is, there's a percentage of, they know they're going to be stolen from at least a certain 16%, something like that. They also know how many people are going to buy items, use them to the point that they cannot be resold, and return them. That's part of the risk of having a return policy. They used to call it rent-a-shack, not Radio Shack. As people would come, they would buy a electronic appliance, they would use it for whatever they needed, and then bring it back and return it. You have 30 days. I only need the tester in my house to test the electricity now. I'm not going to need it tomorrow. Now, can you return something then? According to their rules, yes, you can. According to halakha, you're not allowed to go to a store and buy something knowing you're going to return it. People make this mistake a lot. They go to the store and they buy all kinds of things they want to try on, and they take them home. And it doesn't fit, they return them. Who let you? Another store, who lets you? Which halakha lets you do such a thing? Now, it could be you go to the store. I was once at Costco. There was something I wanted, and I came back the next week to buy it, and it was already out. They changed things a lot. And the guy said, you know what our policy in Costco is? I said, what? He said, just buy it when you see it, because you can always return it. Meaning, they go in the other direction. Costco wants you to buy as much as you can, because what's the chance you're going to schlep that thing back to the store and stand in line and return it? How many of us have things in our house we need to return that we'll never return because we never get our act together enough to bring it back? So those stores, they're telling you, our opinion is, we'd rather you err on the side of buying it than not buying it, because we'll make a buck off of you. And by the way, if you know that that's the truth about a store, like if you go to an online store and they say, order three pairs of pants and return the ones that don't fit you. If that's what they tell you, then that's not, actually I think there's a place that does that with glasses. They send you some things, you should try them on, and then return the one you don't want. If that's what they're telling you, fine, I understand. With shoes, no, okay. But a person has to know the emet. You don't want to teach yourself to do things that are wrong. You'll end up doing something that's really wrong. Ben Soreh Umoreh is a person who never had self-discipline. At the end of the day, it's not his parents' fault, it could be. It's not his society's fault, it could be. At the end of the day, a person has to take control of their own life. At the end of the day, after 120 years, you're going up to Shamayim, they're going to ask you questions, nobody else. There's going to be somebody else involved in your questioning. Why did you do what you did? There was recently in the United States, last year, a school shooting. And they interviewed this maybe 19 years old, killed 17 people, 19 people killed, a crazy amount of people. It doesn't make a difference how many video games you watched, how angry you were at people, how your life inconvenienced you and you were raised this way and you were... doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, you are a murderer. That's what you are. And it could be. I'm not telling you now. I'm not talking about mental illness. I'm not talking about gun control. I'm not talking... It's not... None of my... Right now is not my point here. When we teach people that they're not accountable for their actions, we create the most dangerous place in the world to live. And our attitude is the complete opposite. We stand here in Yom Kippurim. We say things that we normally wouldn't say the rest of the year. Hashem, it would have been better that you didn't create me. But now that you created me, at least let me do things right. Hashem, I did this wrong, and I did that wrong, and I did the next thing wrong. I messed up. But I hold myself accountable. People don't say sorry for things they don't think they did wrong. So recently something happened in my life. I didn't do something wrong. But the other person perceived I did something wrong. So I called them, and I apologized. It wasn't a big deal. For me, it wasn't a big deal. But my nature told me, you have to apologize. Did you do anything wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes I do things wrong. I need to apologize for sure. But in this specific instance, I didn't. I never talked to my wife and think, it was better for me to reach out. It was better. But it took a certain, getting over your ego. Because the pride in me says, it's bad enough to apologize for something I do wrong. But why should I apologize for something I didn't do wrong? It's a stupid joke that someone once told me. It's stupid, but unfortunately it's true for many people. This guy comes to his dad and says, Dad, I want to get married. He says, okay, say you're sorry. He says, what? Just say you're sorry. For what? It doesn't make any sense. Say you're sorry. He said, I'm not sorry. He said, say you're sorry. He said, but I didn't do anything. It doesn't make any difference if you did anything. Just say you're sorry. He said, I'm sorry. Now you're ready to get married. You didn't do anything. It's not your fault. You don't even know why you're apologizing. But the truth is, if that's the story in a person's relationship, that's a very bad relationship. It's a sign they need to go get help. Unfortunately, there's an article written, there's this free magazine that goes, you might think I sit all day and read articles, by the way. It's important to know what actually happens in the world. So I once read an article about Rav Moshe Feinstein that said, Moshe Feinstein never read a newspaper in his life. He didn't have time to waste reading a newspaper. And then someone sent me a picture of Moshe Feinstein sitting in a lawn chair with a big newspaper. He read the newspaper, and he saw a value in it. How could you be a posek for the world if you don't know what goes on in the world?
Right.
You don't know. It doesn't mean you have to sit your whole day reading a newspaper. But it means you have to know what's happening in the world. It was here in it's like the La Jolla Golden Triangle News or one of these things. They had an article in there about abuse, emotional abuse between couples. And I'm not here to blame any person. In the world, we're used to domestic violence in terms of men beating their wives, hurting their wife, being drunk, abusing, all kinds of terrible things, verbally, emotionally abusing their wives. There's very little discussion in the community about emotional abuse that women inflict upon men. There's a whole story about a wife making you say, I'm sorry for something you didn't do. That's emotional abuse. You're being abused to do something that you shouldn't be doing. That's abuse. We don't talk about it because, that's part of being married. It's not part of being married. It's not part of being married. When a man loses his job and he comes home and his wife, what kind of stupid man, you don't work, you don't have life, that's abuse. That's abuse. Imagine a woman lose her job. Or there was another problem in the marriage. And there's a sweet couple there, and Baruch Hashem, they're having a child very soon. For many years, they couldn't have children. Do you know oftentimes what happens when they find out, the woman can't have children? It's because of you, I don't have children because of you. What are you, stupid? You're married to that person, that's the kind of thing you now deal with silk gloves. It's us, you're in a relationship, there's two of us now. We need to find a way to have children. We need to find a way to You're going to pick on somebody for a flaw? That's abuse. And we would all call that abuse. When it goes the other direction. There was a lady, a career woman, now in the newspaper today. She has a job, she has a life. But she every day packs her husband lunch for work. And I guess her husband posted a thing. I didn't read the whole article. Somehow it got out to the public that she makes her husband lunch every day for work. And she started getting bullied on the internet. You're a housewife of the 1950s where your husband can't make his own lunch, where he can't pack his own food, where he can't... Who are you? This is a couple that is very happy together. And they have, I don't know what, maybe he's taking the kids to school. I don't know what they're doing. Who knows what she decides she wants to show her love to her husband by making him lunch every day. What's wrong with that?
That's beautiful.
In the olden days, if a woman wanted to go work, we told her, no, what do you mean? You're going to neglect your children? And today, it's a stupid mentality to have. But if there's a lady who financially, they're able to make it that she wants to stay home with her kids and her husband wants her to stay home with her kids, or whatever other... the community today will judge a person like that. What, are you just a housewife? You're a soccer mom? With all kinds of names they call people. This is a couple. This couple made a decision. This decision is what they want to do in their... Who are you? Problems start small. And then they get big. And if a person doesn't stop the problems when they're small and they get big, sometimes they get too big for us. And we get run over by them. And the only time we could fix them, maybe, is once they destroy us. Because once you're destroyed, there's nothing left. So you can start all over again. You never want your finances to take you to a place where you have to declare bankruptcy. But sometimes a person reaches a place where that's all they can do. But you never want to be there. You don't want to be the Ben Solomon. I'll end off with a story for you. They say there was once a young boy. He made Aliyah from Morocco to Israel. And some of his cousins, they came already in 1948, and he came in 1961. It was he waited a few years. The families made Aliyah at different times, depending on how much money they had. He comes to Israel, and his old cousin, he remembers back in the day from Morocco, tells him, come, let's go play a game. He takes him to the train tracks. And they lay down on the train tracks. He says, now we wait until they start shaking. When they start shaking, you hear a loud noise. You hear the loud noise? Get up and run for your life. The guy says, why? It doesn't make sense because the train's coming. He doesn't know what a train is. Never heard a train in his life.
Oh, no.
He lays in the train tracks, and they start shaking. The one who was in Israel for a long time, he gets up, he runs away. The other one didn't know. He finally sees the train, runs up, it hit him. Baruch Hashem, he survives. He spends the next 3 years in the hospital. Reconstructive surgery, bone replacement, crazy. 3 years he comes home. His family makes a big celebration for him. And what do you do in a Sephardic party? You go boil some tea with mint leaves. So they put the teapot on top of the stove, and it goes, doo. The guy takes a baseball bat, starts breaking the teapot, it's crashing the teapot, there's water everywhere. And they looked at him, oh my gosh, the guy was in the hospital for 3 years, he lost his mind. He said, why'd you do that? Why'd you break grandma's teapot? He said, a teapot? He said, you gotta kill these things when they're young, because when they get big, they run people over. But there's wisdom in this story. Because if you let something get big, and it manifests itself, it'll run you over. Stop it when it's small. Teach your kids discipline when they're small. It doesn't mean to beat them, it doesn't mean to hurt them. Give your child the gift of keeping kosher. What does that mean? It's the gift of being able to walk into a store and Al-Hanan telling me, Abba, that candy looks really good, but I don't think I can have it because it's not kosher. Or Abba, I'm bringing me a little cookie and saying, Abba, kosher? He asks me to check if it's kosher. That self-control is more self-control than some adults in this country have. The ability to say, before I shove something in my mouth, before I go home with somebody, before I make a business deal that'll ruin my life, let me think about it first. Is it the right thing for me to do? Before you eat, you make a bracha. Before you can touch your girlfriend, you have to marry her. So you make a lot of thought beforehand. Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right... I once was a mashgiach in the kitchen. And a guy that was my age, he asked me, hey, Rabbi, how do I get your job? He said, I also want to sit in a chair and do nothing. He said, you could go to rabbinical school. He said, I just might, but I have too many kids to pay, so I can't quit my job. He said, how many kids do you have? Do you want to hear a true story? He's like my in-laws. He has 13 kids.
Oh, wow.
All from different people. Two of them are from one lady. At my age, this is already maybe 5 years ago. When? He pays child support. All of his money goes to child support. Everything that he makes. It's not normal. It's not normal. But it's not a crazy thing. You tell the story. Some places in the world, it's like, big deal. Welcome, take a ticket, join the club. Maybe not 13, but definitely there are six ex-girlfriends, 10 ex-wives. And I asked him a question. Did you not think, like before you had a child or something, before you brought someone to the world, someone's in a relationship, they've been together for a long time, the years, and it just doesn't work out. That's a normal thing. That happens. That's why the Torah has a clause for divorce. But you're 24 and you have 13 kids. That means you never thought twice. And not you, the stupid girl who went home with you didn't think either. Because she had no self-control either. What kind of society are you bringing up? And what kind of kids are those kids going to grow up to be? A person has to give your children the gift from a very young age, self-control. Not you beating them up. That's not self-control. The moment they leave your house, they're going to party like they never partied before. Teach a child the ability to say, there's something in my life that is more important than what I really want right now. Let me at least think twice before I do something. That blessing will make sure not only that our children will not be a ben solam moreh, but that we'll make generations of people in the world that want to grow and do good things in the world. All right, I wish I God willing when it comes to Shabbat Shalom.